Hello, my nieces, nephews, godson. You're a nephew too, but godson. Special shout out. I don't know if you're listening to my chapter books, but maybe you are. The kiddos out there. I don't know if there's random kids watching this. Random people. I don't know. Hello, everyone. This is chapter 4 of Charlotte's Web. I'm hoping. I'm getting a little tired as I read these chapters, so I'm hoping this will be my last chapter for tonight. This is chapter 4, Loneliness. The next day was rainy and dark. Rain fell on the roof of the barn and dripped steadily from the eaves. I don't know what an eave is. Rain fell in the barnyard and ran in crooked courses down into the lane where thistles and pigweed grew. Rain splattered against Mrs. Zuckerman's kitchen windows and came gushing out of the downspouts. Rain fell on the backs of the sheep as they grazed in the meadow. When the sheep, tired of standing in the rain, they walked slowly up the lane into the fold. Rain upset Wilbert's plans. Wilbert had been planning to go out this day and dig a new hole in his yard. He had other plans too. His plans for the day went something like this: breakfast at 6:30, skim milk, crust muddlings, bits of donuts, wheat cakes with drops of maple syrup sticking to them, potato skins, leftover custard pudding with raisins, and bits of shredded wheat. Side note, I made banana pudding and I just thought about it and I can't wait to have it. Do you folks like banana pudding? I got knockoff Nutella wafers. Not Nutella wafers. Those little cookies, I don't know. Those vanilla wafers? I don't know. Vanilla cookies that you put on top of banana pudding. I can't wait to eat it with some whipped cream. You should try it if you haven't tried it. Alright, breakfast would be finished at 7. From 7 to 8, Wilbert planned to have a talk with Templeton, the rat that lived under his trout. Talking with Templeton was not the most interesting occupation in the world, but it was better than nothing. From 8 to 9, Wilbert planned to take a nap outdoors in the sun. From 9 to 11, he planned to dig a hole or a trench or possibly find something good to eat buried in the dirt. From 11 to 12, he planned to stand still and watch flies on the boards, watch bees in the clover, and watch swallows in the air. 12 o'clock, lunchtime, meeting meddlings, warm water, apple parings, meat gravy, carrot scraps, meat scraps, stale hominy, and a wrapper off a package of cheese. Lunch would be over at 1. From 1 to 2, Wilbert planned to sleep. From 2 to 3, he planned to scratch itchy places by rubbing against the fence. From 3 to 4, he planned to stand perfectly still and think about what it was like to be alive and to wait for Fern. At 4 would come supper: skim milk, provender, leftover sandwich from Lurby's lunchbox, prune skins, a morels, I don't know what that word is, a bit of that, fried potatoes, marmalade drippings, a little more of this, a little more of that, a piece of baked apple, and a scrap of upside down cake. Wilbert had gone to sleep thinking about these plans. He woke up at 6 and saw the rain, and it seemed as though he couldn't bear it. I get everything all beautifully planned out, and it has to go and rain, he said. For a while he stood gloomily indoors, and then he walked to the door and looked out. Drops of rain struck his face. His yard was wet and cold. His trough had an inch of rainwater in it. Templeton was nowhere to be seen. "Are you out there, Templeton?" called Wilbert. There was no answer. So suddenly Wilbert felt lonely and friendless. One day, just like another, he groaned, I am very young, and I have no real friend here in the barn. It's going to rain all morning and all afternoon, and Fern won't come in such bad weather. Oh, honestly, and Wilbert was crying for the second time in 2 days. At 6:30, Wilbert heard a banging of a pail. Lurvy was standing outside in the rain, stirring up breakfast. Come on, pig, said Lurvy. Wilbert did not budge. Lurvy dumped slop, scrapped the pail, and walked away. He noticed that something was wrong with the pig. Wilbert did not want food, he wanted love. He wanted a friend, someone who would play with him. He mentioned this to Goose, who was sitting quietly in the corner of the sheepfold. Will you come over and play with me? He asked. Sorry, Sonny, sorry, said the goose. I'm sitting on my eggs. 8 of them. Gotta keep them toasty, oasty, warm. I have to stay right here. I'm no fibbity gibbet. I do not play when there are eggs to hatch. I'm expecting goslings. Well, I didn't think you were expecting woodpeckers, said Wilbert bitterly. Wilbert tried one of the lambs. Will you please play with me? He asked. Certainly not, said the lamb. In the first place, I cannot get into your pen, as I am not old enough to jump over the fence. In the second place, I am not interested in pigs. Pigs mean less than nothing to me. What do you mean less than nothing? Replied Wilbert. I don't think there is any such thing as less than nothing. Nothing is absolutely the limit of nothingness. It's the lowest you can go. It's the end of the line. How can you be less than nothing? If there were something that was less than nothing, then nothing would not be nothing. It would be something, even though it's just a very little bit of something. But if nothing is nothing, then nothing is less than it is. Oh, be quiet, said the lamb. Go play by yourself. I don't play with pigs. Sadly, Wilbert lay down and listened to the rain. Soon he saw the rat climbing down the slanting board that he uses as a stairway. Will you play with me, Templeton? Asked Wilbert. Play, said Templeton, twisting his whiskers. Play? I hardly know the meaning of the word. Well, said Wilbert, it means to have fun, to frolic, to run, and skip, and make merry. I never do those things if I can avoid them, replied the rat sourly. I prefer to spend my time eating, gnawing, spying, and hiding. I am a glutton, but not a merry maker. Not right now. I'm on my way to your trough to eat your breakfast, since you haven't gotten sense enough to eat it yourself. And Templeton the rat crept stealthily along the wall and disappeared into a private tunnel that he had dug between the door and the trough into Wilbert's yard. Templeton was a crafty rat, and he had things pretty much his own way. The tunnel was an example of his skill and cunning. The tunnel enabled him to get from the barn to his hiding place under the pig trough without coming out into the open. He had tunnels and runways all over Mr. Zuckerman's farm and could get from place to place without being seen. Usually he slept during the daytime and was abroad only after dark. Wilbert watched him disappear into his tunnel. In a moment he saw the rat's sharp nose poke out from underneath the wooden trough. Cautiously, Templeton put himself up and over the edge of the trough. This was almost more than Wilbert could stand. On this dreary, rainy day, to see his breakfast being eaten by someone else. He knew Templeton was getting soaked out there in the pouring rain, but even that didn't comfort him. Friendless Dejected and hungry, he threw himself down in the manure and sobbed. Later that afternoon, Larrabee went to Mr. Zuckerman. I think there's something wrong with that pig of yours. He hasn't touched his food. Give him two spoonfuls of slur and a little molasses, said Mr. Zuckerman. Wilbur couldn't believe what was happening to him when Larrabee caught him and forced the medicine down his throat. This was certainly the worst day of his life. He didn't know whether he could endure the awful loneliness anymore. Darkness settled over everything. Soon there was only shadows and the noise of the sheep chewing their cuds, and occasionally the rattle of a cow chain up overhead. You can imagine Wilbert's surprise when out of the darkness came a small voice he had never heard before. It sounded rather thin but pleasant. Do you want a friend, Wilbur? It said. I'll be a friend to you. I've watched you all day, and I like you. But I can't see you, said Wilbur, jumping to his feet. Where are you? And who are you? I'm right up here, said the voice. Go to sleep, and you'll see me in the morning. And that was chapter 4. Who do you think it is?